Underneath the summer sun, palm trees sway. We are making off with the gold today. Samba rhythms in the Rio night, a slippery heist in the tropical light.
Imagine crawling on your stomach through a pitch-black, suffocating tube 4 meters beneath the bustling streets of Fortaleza, Brazil. It is 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, August 6, 2005. Above your head, thousands of cars roll across Avenida Dom Manuel, completely oblivious to the shadow world beneath them. You are dripping with sweat in 90-degree heat, breathing through an artificial air hose, passing heavy canvas wheat sacks hand to hand through a 250-foot tunnel. Inside those sacks, 3.5 metric tons of cold, hard cash. Over $70 million in untraceable, used banknotes. No shots were fired, no security alarms were tripped, not a single drop of blood was spilled. It was the largest bank heist in Brazilian history, and one of the most astonishing engineering feats in the annals of global crime. But how did a crew of underground thieves execute a Hollywood movie-style heist right under the noses of the federal police? How did they manage to hand-dig past sewage lines, water pipes, and city infrastructure to bore straight through 3 feet of solid, steel-reinforced concrete? And more importantly, why did this $70 million triumph rapidly dissolve into a bloody wake of kidnappings, betrayals, and cold-blooded murder? The official records call it a masterpiece of criminal logistics. But as you are about to find out, the true story behind the Banco Central vault heist is far more chilling and far more tragic than anyone ever imagined. Stick around until the end of this video, because the fatal mistake that finally blew this multi-million-dollar conspiracy wide open came down to a piece of plastic worth less than $1 single.
Shadows whisper in the dark, secrets waiting to unfold. Follow me into the night, let the story now be told.
Before we plunge into the dark subterranean tunnels beneath Fortaleza, if you love deep-dive true crime documentaries, high-stakes heist breakdowns, and forensic mysteries, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notification bell settings so you never miss another cinematic case breakdown. Now let's go back to where this unbelievable story truly began. To understand how an impossible heist like this happens, you have to understand the paradoxical minds behind it. Enter Antonio Jusivan Alves dos Santos, known on the streets simply as Alemão, or the German, due to his light facial features. Alemão wasn't your typical heavy-handed bank robber. Native to the dusty interior of Ceará, he had spent years participating in violent armored car stick-ups. But Alemão possessed a rare psychological clarity. He understood that violence attracts immediate, scorching heat from law enforcement. Stealth, patience, and meticulous planning, on the other hand, build empires. He recognized that the ultimate score wouldn't be taken with automatic rifles and ski masks, but with shovels, air compressors, and absolute silence. To pull off a subterranean miracle, however, Alemão needed a master builder. He needed someone who didn't just dig holes, but who treated subterranean earthworks like high art. He found that man in Moisés Teixeira da Silva, alias Tatuzão. literally translated as the Big Armadillo. Tatuzão was already legendary in the Brazilian underworld. Back in 2001, he had orchestrated a mass escape from São Paulo's infamous Carandiru prison by tunneling directly out of the complex. Tatuzão didn't view tunneling as an emergency getaway. He viewed it as a discipline of civil engineering. He understood soil density, timber load-bearing limits, forced ventilation, and acoustic dampening. Rounding out the core leadership was Luis Fernando Ribeiro, known as Fernandinho. Fernandinho was a wealthy narcotics distributor who acted as the primary capitalist for the enterprise, pumping over 800,000 reais, roughly $350,000 into initial operating capital. Together, this syndicate represented a dangerous synthesis. Paulistano bank robbers, northeastern earth diggers, and political figures offering dark money investments. Operating under the umbrella protection and taxation system of Brazil's dominant prison organization, the Primeiro Comando da Capital, PCC, the team set their sights on the regional branch of the Banco Central do Brasil in downtown Fortaleza. Why Banco Central? Because this wasn't just a commercial bank holding local savings accounts. Banco Central acted as the regional clearinghouse for northeastern Brazil. Inside its subterranean vault sat millions upon millions of used, non-sequential 50 Brazilian real banknotes. These bills had been pulled from commercial circulation for physical quality inspection and potential destruction. Because these specific bills were unrecorded by serial numbers in active banking databases, they were instantly spendable, untraceable, liquid gold. All the gang had to do was figure out how to walk into a modern fortress, grab 3.5 tons of paper money, and walk back out without anyone noticing. In May 2005, the syndicate executed step 1 of their master plan. They rented a modest commercial storefront located at Rua 25 de Março, number 1071. The building sat exactly 3 city blocks away from the Banco Central building. To secure the lease, they used a forged identity card under the name Paulo Sergio. In an eerie piece of foreshadowing, the fake ID listed Paulo Sergio's birth date as August 5, 1968, the exact calendar date chosen months in advance for the final vault break-in. Over the front door, they hung a brightly colored banner, Gramas Sintéticas, synthetic grass. To the neighbors and passing foot traffic, it was a perfectly legitimate small business selling artificial turf, lawn ornaments, and landscaping equipment. But the commercial cover was a stroke of strategic genius. It provided a seamless explanation for why large commercial delivery vans were constantly arriving and departing. It explained why workers in dust-covered overalls were hauling out heavy sacks. And it justified the bulk purchases of pickaxes, shovels, timber beams, industrial gloves, and hydraulic jacks. Inside the building, behind closed blinds, the real work began. The gang tiled over the front office, but in the back rooms, they sank a vertical shaft 4 meters, over 13 feet, straight down into the Brazilian clay. Once they cleared the city's municipal gas, water, and sewage lines, Tatuzão and his crew turned 90 degrees and began digging horizontally toward the bank vault. The numbers behind this excavation are staggering. The gallery stretched 78 meters long, roughly 256 feet, passing directly beneath the 4 lanes of traffic on Avenida Dom Manuel. The cross-section was tightly restricted, just 70 centimeters wide and 65 centimeters high. Work operated in continuous 24-hour rotating shifts. Up to 7 men worked in the claustrophobic crawl space at any given time, using short-handled garden shovels and hand picks. To prevent the dynamic vibrations of city traffic from causing a catastrophic cave-in, Tatuzão constructed a continuous wooden rib cage lining the tunnel. Over 900 custom-fitted timber planks were installed along the shaft. To make the subterranean environment survivable, they ran flexible PVC air ducts connected to surface air conditioning units, pumping fresh, cooled oxygen directly to the digging face. They strung low-voltage electrical wiring along the entire length, hanging light bulbs every few meters. They even installed a hardwired analog intercom system so workers at the tunnel face could communicate with the surface without transmitting cellular signals that police could intercept. And what about the dirt? Manual excavation yielded over 1,000 metric tons of dense red clay. Instead of dumping it outside and raising red flags, the crew packed the soil into synthetic fertilizer and grass seed sacks, stacking them floor to ceiling inside the back rooms of the Grama Sintetica storefront. To anyone looking through the window, the building was simply packed with landscaping supplies. By July 2005, after nearly 3 months of non-stop underground labor, the tip of the tunnel slammed into a dense structure. They had arrived directly beneath the central floor plate of the Banco Central vault. Now came the most dangerous phase, breaching the vault floor. The vault floor was composed of 1.1 meters, over 3.5 feet, of high-density, steel-reinforced concrete, overlaid with damp-proofing layers and linked to thermal and seismic alarms. Under normal circumstances, drilling into this floor would trigger every alarm in the state of Ceará. But the gang possessed a deadly ace up their sleeve, an insider. Edilson dos Santos Vieira, known as Dez, was a contracted security guard working inside the bank. Dez provided internal blueprints, security patrol schedules, and critical intelligence. He informed the gang that the vault's interior security architecture was currently undergoing spatial reconfiguration. Certain motion and infrared sensors had been realigned, creating a temporary blind spot right along a specific section of the floor. On the evening of Friday, August 5, 2005, at 1800 hours, Banco Central staff locked the massive vault doors and departed for the weekend. The moment the staff left, the subterranean crew went to work. Using high-powered hydraulic jacks, diamond-tipped drill bits, and quiet air compressors anchored inside the front house, they slowly bored upward into the 3-foot concrete slab. They worked incrementally, using water to suppress dust and dampening vibrations to prevent triggering regional monitoring networks. At approximately 2 a.m. on Saturday, August 6th, the diamond drill bit broke through the surface. A circular opening just 50 centimeters in diameter opened in the middle of the vault floor. When the thieves climbed up through the narrow portal, they found themselves standing in darkness, surrounded by wooden pallets stacked high with used 50 reais bills. The extraction was a military-style assembly line. Step 1. Workers inside the vault grabbed the stacks of bills and stuffed them into synthetic wheat sacks. Step 2. Workers positioned at regular intervals along the 256-foot tunnel passed the heavy sacks hand-to-hand back to the vertical shaft. Step 3. Sacks were hoisted to the surface and loaded into a white commercial van. Step 4. The van drove the cash to a primary safe house in the nearby suburb of Mondubim. By Sunday evening, August 7th, the gang had extracted 164,755,150 Brazilian reais. Weight-wise, it was 3.5 metric tons of pure currency, $70 million. They left tens of thousands of real banknotes scattered across the tunnel floor like trash, packed up their essential gear, locked the doors of the synthetic grass business, and vanished into the night. At 8 a.m. on Monday, August 8, 2005, Banco Central employees unlocked the primary vault doors for routine Monday business. What they saw stunned them into absolute silence. Standing in the center of the vault were empty wooden pallets, dust clouds, and a smooth, circular hole yawning into the ground. The Brazilian Federal Police were called immediately. Officer Enéas Sobrera was the first agent on the scene. Stripping down to his shirt, he dropped into the narrow hole and crawled the entire 256 feet, emerging inside the abandoned house at Rua 25 de Março. The crime was genius in its physical execution, but the human element, the hubris, the greed, and the inevitable sloppy mistakes began to unravel the plot almost immediately. The first domino fell inside the tunnel house. Crime scene investigators sweeping the premises found two tiny items left behind: a scrap paper note and an unused prepaid public telephone card. Federal agents immediately secured judicial authorization to trace telecommunications data from that phone card's manufacturing batch. Within hours, investigators mapped out a network of burn phones, cell tower handshakes, and conspirator aliases. The second domino fell out on the highway. On the very day the heist was discovered, syndicate members flooded local used car dealerships in Fortaleza. In their rush to convert their haul, they bought over 10 brand new luxury sedans and off-road vehicles, paying the dealers directly with worn, unsequenced 50 reais notes pulled from agricultural sacks. They loaded the vehicles onto a long car carrier transport truck, a Cegonha, bound for Sao Paulo. Acting on a tip, police intercepted the car carrier on an interstate highway. Hidden inside the seats and door panels of those newly purchased cars was over 6 million reais in cash. Then came the forensic nail in the coffin. Latent fingerprints recovered from the synthetic turf shop matched Genigle Alves de Cruz, the sister of overall coordinator Alemão. The criminal syndicate had achieved the impossible, but now they faced an enemy far more dangerous than the police, themselves. The sudden injection of $70 million of untraceable cash into the underworld unleashed a wave of absolute horror. Prosecutors and judges would later refer to the stolen haul as dinheiro maldito, cursed money. In October 2005, financial backer Fernandinho was spotted leaving a Sao Paulo nightclub. He was kidnapped by a rogue crew that included corrupt civil police officers. Even though Fernandinho's family paid a massive 2 million reais ransom, his captors executed him anyway, dumping his body along a lonely highway in Minas Gerais. Next came Dez, the bank security guard who provided the inside blueprints. He was abducted by a local cartel leader known as JP. JP's crew extorted 500,000 reais from Dez's family. When Dez's brother, a military police officer, paid the money, the cartel kidnapped the brother too, demanding another 123,000 reais. Shortly after, Dez was found dead in a staged suicide. Alemão's own brother was kidnapped in April 2006, held hostage for 12 days until Alemão negotiated a 70,000 reais ransom payment from his hiding spot. One by one, the criminal masterminds were hunted down by law enforcement. In September 2006, federal police wiretaps revealed that surviving gang members had reassembled in the southern city of Porto Alegre. Utilizing their subterranean skills, they were actively digging a new tunnel toward bank vaults near the Praça da Alfândega. Police launched Operação Facção Tupera, Operation Faction Mole. Agents raided the compound, catching 26 gang members lying face down on the floor, effectively crippling the syndicate's underground operations. In February 2008, undercover federal agents posing as real estate brokers tracked Mastermind Alemão to a hideout in Taguatinga. He was arrested and ultimately sentenced to decades behind bars. In July 2009, Chief Tunnel Engineer Tatu Zhao was tracked to Sao Paulo after undergoing extensive plastic surgery. When federal agents staged a car collision outside a parking garage to lure him out, Tatu Zhao surrendered without pulling a weapon. Looking at the agents who had pursued him across Brazil for 4 straight years, Tatu Zhao simply smiled and uttered a now famous line: "Vocês demoraram muito. Pensei que vocês haviam desistido de mim. You took too long. I thought you had given up on me." The legal aftermath was massive. Federal Judge Danilo Fontenelle Sampaio of Ceará presided over 28 separate criminal actions involving 133 indicted defendants. Initial maximum sentences reached as high as 170 years. While legal appeals eventually reduced the top sentences to between 35 and 50 years, the outcome remained clear. Of the original $70 million stolen, police recovered less than $20 million through vehicle interdictions, safe house raids, and property auctions. Over $50 million vanished completely, eaten up by extortion, legal fees, corrupt cops, and rival gang betrayals. As defense attorney Eliseu Minichilo famously stated during trial, "As far as I know, there is no money left for anyone. Everyone is broke, but they still run the risk of people thinking they have the money and getting kidnapped all over again." Or, as one convicted gang member named Rafael somberly reflected from his prison cell, "I regret it. I only suffered losses. They took everything from me. In the end, it felt like I was the one who got robbed." The 2005 Banco Central heist stands as a haunting testament to human capability and human self-destruction. On an engineering level, what Alemão, Tatu Zhao, and their crew accomplished beneath the streets of Fortaleza was undeniably brilliant. They outsmarted modern technology, bypassed elite security measures, and moved literal mountains of clay with simple hand tools. Yet, their genius only served to highlight a timeless truth about modern true crime. Executing the heist is almost never the hardest part. Surviving the money is. The moment that $70 million exited the vault floor, it transformed from a brilliant triumph into a toxic poison that destroyed every single person who touched it. It brought out corrupt cops, ruthless kidnappers, internal betrayals, and lifetime prison sentences. Federal Judge Danilo Fontenelle was once asked by reporters if he believed criminals could ever attempt an underground heist of this scale again. He responded with 5 simple words: "Embaixo do céu, tudo é possível." Under heaven, everything is possible. Now, I want to turn the question over to you. Do you think there is ever such a thing as the perfect crime? Or does greed guarantee that even the most brilliant criminal mind will eventually destroy itself from within? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I read and reply to as many as I can. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with fellow true crime fans. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video, where we'll be dissecting a high-stakes heist that left investigators completely baffled for decades. Until next time.
Under heaven, under light, golden shadows in the night. Greed will take what brilliant minds create. Under heaven, sealed by fate.